Welcome back, everyone. This is round 3 of the team tournament at Netrunner Worlds in Barcelona, in Casaruiz. I am joined once again by Luke. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, guy?
I am good. I had a nice break in round 2. You were seeing some Eternal Games in round 2, I believe. We are, however, now we're in Standard.
That's right.
This is that smaller card pool. You know, this isn't quite anything could happen. Although we do have on the left with Santa Thule, which, you know, would you have expected a Thule today?
No, but on today there seems to be 2 approaches to the team tournament before the World Championship. Some people throw caution to the wind, play their main decks, and just learn how to play them over the course of the day, or practice them over the course of the day. And then other people have a bit of misdirection going on. So perhaps. Perhaps Thule is a bit like that.
There is the misdirection. Well, Thule had an unfortunate start there when opening with 3 face-down assets, Wage Workers and 2 Rashidas. And then RotomAppliance on your right of your screen, former world champion, did the former world champion thing of immediately drawing a Miss Bones and running and trashing all 3 of those assets, resetting the game to the starting point, but with a lot of your best econ cards now in the bin. So Thule responding by putting another asset down, and I think making the choice there about whether to reveal that to the 419 ability, and I believe revealing that looked like a Malin to me.
Maybe a Nico.
Oh, a Nico. Yes, you're quite right. That was a Nico. I knew it was a campaign.
That's right.
I was close. It was a campaign, and then a second card down. So this is quite a wide Thule. So Pat going in and seeing a Mr. Hendricks paying 2 on the Thule side to say, hey, give us all your clicks, or take a core damage. Rotom having to think about that. That's that's an unfortunate run, click 1, right?
That's right.
You want to run it last click, right? And taking the core, just being like, right, clicks are more valuable than core to bat this early on. I think. It's always like, you can always take like 1 core damage, right? You just kind of go, I'll take this 1 and then nope. I will allow your 4-2 to become a 3-2. The second it becomes a 2-2 is when we have a problem.
That's right. That's when you're on Struggle Street.
Struggle Street. Yeah, you don't want to be on Struggle Street. You're quite right. This is... so we also have a run and presumably a trash on the Nico as well, using presumably some Miss Bones money, and once again, Thule back to nothing on the board. Like, that's a real, you are controlling the board at this point, and a daily cast goes down for 419 there as well. So a bit of econ set up on the 419 side, and now Thule has to reset. It would feel bold of me to, I mean, my instinct against Criminal is always like, right, I've got to ice HQ, like maybe no ice was drawn, or is that, or am I like misreading that because like there's so many assets that you can, like with Wage Workers, that you can like avoid the doof, is that it?
Well, so Wage Workers would get you down to 3, so that's, and you can bounce back with a Rashid Jaheim, so it's, it's a substantial doof, but it's, it's not the biggest doof, so that might have been the play, but more likely, I think, is that Santa hasn't drawn ice. But we'll find out. There might be an iceless list. Who knows?
An iceless, though. I mean, team tournaments, who knows what can happen.
Although I'm wondering if we're going to see Jaguarundi. I think this is a list that would like Jaguarundi.
Yes, the Mr. Hendrick. Both of those cards, I believe, demand clicks or core, essentially.
Yep.
So it feels like they would work together. So Spin Doctor on the Thule side, sort of drawing up. Pat responds by also drawing up. I've written over there with the Class Act. Anything you can do, I can do better. on the criminal side, you may draw 2, I draw 4. An interesting start. My assumption is that Rotom doesn't necessarily know exactly what this deck is going to do, because it's not necessarily a deck that's widely played across the meta, so there's a little bit of what's going on here. So we've got, and indeed what is going on here, that I believe is That is the install and gain money card.
Greasing the palm.
Greasing the palm, quite right, yes. 3 cost, gaining a little bit of money and also installing. So again, going very wide here. We got 1, 2, 3 more cards to go and see right there.
Yeah.
And Rotom aware, of course, that once again we could be dealing with Mr. Hendricks, but doesn't necessarily have the ease of just taking the 1 core damage. So I suppose what's the scariest thing it could be for you to not run it?
I think Mr. Hendrick doesn't feel grand, but I think at this point, RotomAppliance has got a pretty solid board state. They can start building things up, and I think it's so far anyway. It seems he's doing it pretty well.
Fair enough. So we've had we do have some reses now on corpse sides. We've got that is a Maryland campaign. Meanwhile, Rotom over there has managed to get the turtle down, so all of those exposures can be, can actually gain where you can break through all of that ice that's not currently on the field. But presumably at some point there might be an ice, so it'll be good to have that all set up, ready to go. And I believe we also have one of the companions in the bottom right.
Yes, Mystic Mamie.
That is the Mystic Mamie, so that'll give you credits for playing events. So cheaper bravados, cheaper dirty laundries, presumably, maybe even cheaper doofs, depending on what the plan is.
Very kindly, Santa's showing us the draws occasionally. So just flicked a riot suppression in front of the camera for us.
A riot suppression. That is one of those cards that I thought had rotated. I believe it says when you trash, if the runner has trashed a card on the last turn, you can play it, and they either have to take a core or lose 3 clicks. I believe that's right.
Yeah.
So another one of those, hey, clicks or core kind of questions going on the corpse side. And I'll remind, this is top table. So this deep sea deck is it's not just a meme. It must on some level have some success. So that is a run on HQ, and that was a full art, which was not stolen.
MCA austerity policy. That one, a 3 to trash.
The MCA, yeah, okay, that's 3 to trash, and again a draining of clicks. It seems to be the name of the game on the corpse side. That is an Earthrise going down. On the runner side, just to enable, if you're not going to have any clicks left to draw, I guess, get your draw going now.
Indeed.
And obviously that will combination with class acts, and you can draw what you actually want to draw. So I guess one of the questions will be, is there a Caldera sitting around in Rotom's deck?
I could see Caldera.
Yeah.
The Earthrise over something like Nuke of Rolic creates a bit of influence to play with. So... we might see some splashy run events. Some
splashy run events. Especially presumably by spending influence on the Miami, it's like implying, hey, events, they're going to be good. They're going to be wanted. We've seen a little bit with, I think we've already used it for the Dirty Laundry last round, just to keep things up. And there's a certain amount of just like, hey, who's going to make the next move here? Because we've got a Res Maryland campaign, a Res Spin Doctor on the corpse side, 2 unresed assets, equally on the runner side. Not one of those. There haven't been any particularly aggressive cards. Like there's no deep diving, or there's no conduit or anything like that. Sort of shouting out, hey, you need to defend something. It's all of that, right? Let's just get some control of the board. Let's make sure I'm not making any mistakes.
That's right, disciplined play from both sides.
And there is the MCA being installed and revealed, so that not paying the credit on the 419 and just allowing the turtle to just, the Amakura, I should say, to increase its total. So interestingly, the MCA being immediately rezzed and clicked, so that'll be 3 clicks on the runner side. So here's my question. What's stopping the trash there? Is there something else in one of these other assets, or is it...
I think it's Oppo.
You think it's the Oppo, or is it the riot suppression?
Well, this is true. We've seen the riot suppression. We've just seen a hypoxia as well.
Okay.
So this is very much a tag and core situation.
So you think there's a possibility of, come trash this MCA, get oppoed, now I can hypoxia, and like it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
It could mean that there was an early core damage which took away a no free lunch, which might be bigger than we initially so little regard did I pay for it that I didn't report it at the time. But
yes,
could it have been like actually more of a turning point?
Yeah.
So there is the run with the missed bones to trash the MCA, which I expect they both knew would happen and both knew had to be a thing. So the question is, at this point, what do you do there? So that is a Chesva being installed.
Yeah.
To gain some money on like central runs. What do you think the plan for that money is? Is it just getting it out of hand? Is it?
Trashing things out of HQ. We've seen a fair few trashables.
Sure.
It also pays for the steel. The steel costs of things like ECOA.
So now we do have a Gaslight 4 on Oppo. So that is, well called there.
It's just what we call in Australia petit Oppo. It's not Le Grand Oppo.
Because, the threat level is now not sufficient to keep doing that. I see you've played Oppie Spoonie before. Right, so, and presumably there's going to be a couple of clicks and then, hey, here are some tags for you to play with. So that is a riot suppression, which we've got a reader, everyone.
That's right.
We have a reader.
For the uninitiated.
Indeed, former world champion has to read a card. I mean, if even Rotom has to read your card, you have pulled it from deep within the binder.
Yeah.
There's definitely a reflection going on there of, right, do you want to take a core damage or do you want to? Now, we've already seen the Oppo come out, so that means you either need to take a core now or you can't clear both tags on the two tags.
Yeah.
And thus, you'll take core.
That's right. That's right.
I believe hypoxia removes the. Does hypoxia remove the tag? I
don't
know
think so.
A lot of the new cards around remove the tag.
That hypoxia text is no joke.
Yeah. So
Play only if the runner is tagged.
Yeah.
Do 1 core damage. The
And-
runner gets -1 click for the next turn.
Well, that is So that does feel like the right thing to just go. Okay, you've won the game of giving me a core damage, and it does. Riot suppression does remove from the game, thankfully. So we may be saved from the riot suppression meta by its removal from the game. But this is. This is why I love being on stream sometimes. You get to see decks that you hadn't anticipated.
That's right.
If someone had asked me before I came what I was expecting to see, I would have not have said riot suppression, Oppo, hypoxia, wide Thule. That wouldn't have passed my lips. Would it pass your lips?
No. I definitely did not see that one coming.
Yeah.
And nor did 419, it seems.
Well, nor did 419, despite exposing that many cards, 419 could not expose the riot suppression. So what do you think the final game plan is? Because of course you can go, right, we've got 2 core damage now on 419. It's not a fun position to be in, but ultimately core damage has very rarely been a win condition on its own, right?
Yes.
Is it that we now are in a position where we've got a bunch of agendas that are now 2 to advance, 2 to score, and we can just fast advance out from here? Or do you think there is an attempt to go, right, 3 cards is not that many, we can keep going and eventually we will get this fight line, get you down to 1 and then in the flat line? I suppose the danger with the flatline run is that if a Caldera is in that runner deck, which is always a danger with criminals. If they've felt like they've got a slot, especially if they think it's quite an unknown field, they'll sometimes there will just be a go on then, a one-off.
Cheeky Caldera. I would be shocked if this newest remote with the 2 cards in it is not Jupe Stud and Hendrick keeping it company. So next turn, they'll. I reckon Santa's going to fast advance the ontological dependency.
Yeah,
now at 2/2.
Yeah.
It's a pricey thing, but it puts another core on the runner.
Yeah.
So this is the perennial answer to the eternal question: why not both?
Why not both? Yeah. Okay, so we've got a run here, and we're taking a core damage. Where did that core damage come from? Or we took a damage. Where did that damage come from?
Don't know. I can only apologise to our listeners that we
I missed that.
Missed that one.
I was enjoying. No, I believe that was. If you just see bottom right hand of your screen, you have installed. That was a meat damage.
From the wake implant.
From the wake implant. So there is an attempt here to go right. Well, I will be able to multi-access. I can keep running HQ, and then I'll be able to run R&D and see multiple cards rather than just the one. With those power counters, that makes more sense because it did seem to be happening on runner's turn. So that was a Rashida fire. Obviously, there is a certain amount of caution. I think Rotom now not running everything that's on the other side of the board. Certainly an unwillingness to, we haven't trashed just money assets, possibly because 419 on 4 credits, on what, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, something I did not anticipate happening was seeing a Thule 419 game where the Thule had the money lead, but it's happened. I'm seeing it. It's there in front of me.
And that's the wonder of a big tournament like this. It brings out all sorts.
Indeed. So we've got an exposed wage workers on one row, and indeed now you've got. So I believe that what you had pegged as the Dupestead Mr. Hendrick remote now has a third card in it.
Yep.
Do you expect a third Hendrick?
Well, at some point it becomes like a hat on a hat. And look, I noticed that some of the cards in Santa's deck do have hats.
They are in fact hats in amongst this deck. I was shown some of that. I am not sure the exact cause or nature of the bit. However, I admire it. But do you mind having a more hats on hats, or do you think that would you put the Mr. Hendricks elsewhere? Is that what you're thinking, or?
Well, I must confess my. Here we go. Here comes Idolf. So you're happy to see that you get a credit off your Mystic Miami, basically free.
Yeah.
And then that will start to present some economic threat to your.
Now, are you seeing a lot of reses here, or no response reses now?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like if that was a Dupestead, is that not the time to res it? Or I suppose might that make you too? Yeah, you would not then be able to afford the Mr. Hendrick, right?
Yeah.
So you think, right, we'll play this longer game. We're gonna core our way down. It's gonna be core all the way down.
That's right.
And we will see. And you play that, and you allow those 5 credits to come across quite happily.
Yes.
I
think
another Earthrise down further on the side.
Yeah, there's wheels within wheels going on here, and so others will be seeing lines that we're not, and that's part of the joy as well. You can play along at home. And
play along at home and say, if I was commentating this, I would know what was going on, and fair enough. So we do have a
Nico.
A Nico, and that is a Marilyn shuffling in. Of course, when it trashes, it shuffles in rather than just going straight into archives. Just for those who really love their shuffling, put some Marilyn campaigns in, and there you go.
It's a phenomenal card. It never feels good to trash as a runner.
No, I think it just ticks along, and you think, well, I'll let it go, and before you know it, like that's six credits has happened. So. There is more of a credit differential now, but still we're sitting on a corp on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 credits. You don't mind being on 7 credits as a corp, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
You think you can manage that, you can make that work. And with Nico, we'll continue to provide its credits every turn up until it goes away. And so I don't think that's the worry. I think and the worry isn't that you're about to lose on agenda points either, like 0 each side as well. And clearly not worried about virus counters. Because, well, for a start, there's no ice for Hoshiko to break. And also we're just allowing the expose at each time. So that is another MCA res, I believe.
That's right, and it's been clicked.
It has been clicked, so it's taken the runner down to 3 clicks on next turn. You've got to be thinking here, am I going to be riot suppression again if I go and trash that? Because that's, you don't want to be riot suppressioned, but like, I mean, I suppose they remove themselves from the game and there's a maximum of 3, so maybe, do you allow all of your riots to be suppressed and then just hope for the best? I guess the question here is whether there is another, diversion of funds, because that could be rather key.
That would be a way to keep the economic fight going along without initiating another riot suppression.
Indeed. And we do have a click 1 draw. Now that's gone into a dirty laundry that's being played for free. Now, interestingly, Rotom going and trashing the Nico campaign there. So maybe there's just a slight pivot to, okay, you can, keep clicking the MCAA if you really want, but I'm going to make you too poor to go and do things. But no, we're going and do, I suppose, once you've trashed one thing, you might as trash another thing. I believe we're using money from a Baki advance.
Yes.
One of the newer cards that, when you run, do one of 4 things, which we can all remember. And then there's an install of a Hermes as well. So, intriguing on the Hermes. One would assume that when something is scored, there'll be stuff resed, but it's possible that not enough money on the corp side to install double advance and also res all the things they might want to. They might want to have the ball on the board at the time. So Rotom can definitely do some disruption. Has this swung a little bit in runners' favour?
I think so, but and the Nico, like I've played a lot of Nico campaign, and it's just such amazing value that I think I would support the former world champion's decision to trash it.
That's very magnanimous of you. I'm sure he'll be very grateful for your support.
I think that's a loss that will be keenly felt by Santa over there on the left. But look, I think that how far away is the next riot suppression? Is it coupled with an oppo, petite or grand?
Yeah.
But I think one thing that's notable is that both players are on 0 agenda points.
Yes.
And so obviously as a runner, when you're stealing those agendas from Thule, it can be quite painful. Been known to leave parts of yourselves behind in those undersea servers.
Yeah.
And so I think playing a very cautious game, building up resources, Earthrise Hotel in particular is like mitigating a lot of the hazards of the core damage. So,
interestingly, the corp has now gone through a turn after the trashes where there was no deep reprisal of, hey, here's your riot suppression, here's your oppo. So there is a bit more potentially a feeling of being on the back foot there.
Yeah.
And in response, we now have Rotom being a bit more aggressive, running the Spin Doctor, saying, hey, right, you need to shuffle. If you've tried to get rid of some agendas because you don't want that flood, then that needs to go back. Apologies, viewers. I think the table's been shifted ever so slightly there. Someone's walked into that, but I think you can still see the tops of cards. We will get that. We'll get that fixed when we can. So this is a moment where Rotom feels like okay to push and get aggressive. So that's a shuffle back of. Gaslight and an unknown card, so presumably saying, hey, I don't have what I want, please let me have this Gaslight and or what I need.
Yep.
What do you think is missing that the Gaslight is there to go and get?
Well, I think there's, have we seen an oppo in hand?
I don't think we've seen an oppo in hand. And there's a dirty laundry trashing the Maryland, following the pattern of do one run, do them all, and obviously the Maryland shuffling in. I think Rotom, they're saying, hey, whilst you're shuffling, to stop you having to shuffle again, just so you know my next click is going to be running here. So, very...
That's generous.
Exactly. Thinking of your opponent's shuffle exhaustion is always important.
Yeah.
Very generous spirit. So there's an equa draw as well. So there is a sense of right. We're getting more of a build up in hand.
And you'll notice now that Thule's on 3 credits.
Absolutely.
3 or 4 maybe, and versus 14 on the right. So
Yeah.
that economic battle is well and truly shifted.
Yeah, and we've only one diversion of funds, I believe. I haven't seen a second, so it's interesting how even the one. I mean, if you put 5 credits back on the other side of the board, that's 8 to 9. So it's still a very big card.
That's right. So we've drawn into a Hendrik. We're looking admiringly at that.
Yeah. So presumably there's a thought pattern here. Do I money up, or do I put more things down? How do I slow this run out? Oh no, we have the riot suppression time. Now there is still, I think we still have 1 click left. So theoretically, the combo could be there. But at this point, Oppo, I believe, is 2 clicks.
Yes.
So it's definitely dragging the corp even lower to play that, and then each hypoxia would be 1
credit. Yep.
So you could do 1 hypoxia on your turn, because you'd obviously have to credit hypoxia, and then you don't have enough credit for the next. So I don't know if that's being you can sort of, those who can see the thought patterns on Rotom's face, see the whether that's going through his brain and such like. I don't know, but he's definitely having a good think about it, and I think even pondering the 2 potential paths here.
Also, he'll be, if he does lose all of those clicks, he'll be also losing effectively a few of the cards from Earthrise as well, because he won't have an opportunity to play them.
Yeah. Though I suppose he'll still have to clear the tags from. Yeah. So there's a click tax either way. But I'll be interesting to see what way he goes on this, because neither route feels great, but. I mean, I suppose it's the question of I think he's asking for a check into archives, how many of X are in archives.
Yes.
Maybe even an influence check. So clearly, Rotom appreciates that this is a key decision not made lightly.
Yes.
What would you do, if you were suddenly transported into those shoes?
I think personally I would have tilted off the face of the planet about 6 turns ago. So,
sure, fair, yeah.
The resilience on display here is very admirable.
Yes, very true.
I think I would take the. I think I would sacrifice my next turn. I would lose those clicks just because my position is quite strong, and whereas the corporation's turn doesn't really get much stronger here.
I see.
And there's no drip economy, right? If there was a couple of campaigns on the left-hand side of the field, it would be a very different story.
And it looks like Rotom has agreed with you there. There was no core damage done at that point, and then there was a Spin Doctor res. Now, whether the Spin Doctor is what allowed the draw into the Oppo. I'm not sure, but it seems possible. So that leaves 1 click, 2 tags. Do you spend that one? What do you spend that 1 click doing? Do you try and make sure you're using, you're using your possibilities on the Earthrise, or do you clear one of those tags, or because I think you pretty much know what the next turn's going to be.
Yes.
It is almost definitely going to be credit hypoxia ?
Yep.
Click fee profit. For a moment I thought our screen had frozen because of Pat's hand on his own deck there, but no, that is It is just the very deliberate and very cautious of play of Rotom over there. So, he's got one click here. It's going to be a good one. It's, when you see the Masters brought down to, decisions like, all of it's compacted into like one click, what do they do here? I mean, if he clicks for a credit here or something, then I truly look like a fool. But I'm confident something better is going to happen.
Do you expect it's going to be running hot to get some more clicks back?
Running hot to avoid the core damage, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, it turns out it was I believe, a short gamble there on that. So, is it
That's a good card.
No, I think possibly a class act. Look, so drawing up. So if there was a plan for a flat line, but I suspect that it wasn't. I suspect this is greater value. This is pushing through. This is a longer term plan. Now, am I wrong? Are we seeing something different to credit hypoxia question mark? Or is this the question mark? Like, what are we looking at?
So install and expose are wage workers.
Right, yeah.
And take two.
And take two. Okay, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you, or?
I've played many an asset and taken two, and it doesn't always feel the strongest when you're making those plays, but sometimes they're the plays you've got to make. And here comes a twinning. Now this is what I think RotomAppliance has been really hoping for, the opportunity to turn one run into a lot of good accesses.
I see. Do you fear multi-accesses as Thule at all because of the way in which you kind of want to access one agenda at a time, or do you just go right? Ultimately, the last one I steal is the last one I have to steal.
Yeah, I think that you're limiting the number of turns on which you have stolen something, which turns on a few nasty cards like Oppo, but also you are limiting the amount of time that the threat level is elevated also.
I see. Right. Very good.
Yeah.
Full side again, like still struggling with that money a bit. With the wage workers on the table, is it going to be the res click for 3 credits and then wage workers gives you a 4th credit, or is something else happening? Because there is a note. Looks like. So a res
credit,
and something credit. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, that's pad campaign at home.
Yeah, pad campaign at home. Yeah, what we used to call the Anarch shotgun. Click for 4 credits. So you clearly know that that's not the ideal thing for you to be doing. And in many ways there's been a fire of an Oppo without being able to capitalize on that. So I think I would assume the corps are on the back foot. But I think there's still a way in which a no free lunch down on the runner side is a big deal, because all of a sudden you can clear a riot suppression Oppo whilst the threat level remains where it is.
Yeah.
And that is that I did not expect to see a flip switch coming out of the runner side there, because that's clear on your turn as well of attack. So that changes the calculation quite a bit as well. Have you been seeing flip switch all around? That one surprises me.
Well, I did see RotomAppliance included in a 47 card Sable list, actually.
47.
I think perhaps at European, Middle East and Africa Continental Championships.
Right.
As a long-time Crim fancier, I pay attention to the lists that people like RotomAppliance publish.
Well, of course, yeah.
So I have taken flip switch to tournaments recently. Not to much success, but
Okay.
it's there, and sometimes it
Yeah.
gets you out of situations like this.
Well, yeah, that is fascinating to me that the meta is shifting such that it makes sense. I guess it allows some bits of aggression as well, and it is just that clearing tags here and there. With so much oppo around, and so much click compression going from a lot of corps, I can see the why. Did we just see a purge there, I believe?
We did see a purge.
Did see a purge. So explain to the viewers at home. Obviously, I know why, but explain to the viewers at home why you think there was a purge there, just in case.
Well, it's possible there's ice coming down.
Okay.
Unlikely though. It seems we haven't seen an ice played yet.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a bit of ice.
Is it essentially the play of right? My only way out of this is if I score X behind a piece of ice. If I purge, then turtle is not the thing stopping me, and maybe Rotom doesn't have the breaker.
Yeah.
Like, if you were right and there's a Mr. Hendricks and Juxted on server 2 there next to the Spin Doctor, you can ice up, install, and be ready to score an ontological on a jump set, and then get your core damage that way, and possibly just like then you can start really fast advancing and getting things out. So it might be that play. I'm not sure.
Could also be a way to stay to sort of manage the risks of diversion of funds. So if you take for that turn, you become a very juicy doof target.
Right.
But if you purge and take one, less so. I don't know.
I see. Right.
Better minds than mine are at work in
yes,
this game.
no,
So,
definitely. It's an intriguing one.
Yeah.
I assume that there is deep thinking going on. These are this is top table, but I don't always understand it. That's 2 red levels drawn, I believe. Or, I couldn't quite see the.
I think
the
those are actually distributed tracings.
Those are distributed tracings, of course. So. Yes.
Being the operation that will give you a tag without without a trace.
I see. So that
despite the name.
Yes. So an unfortunate situation of having a runner who can quite easily say, well, I take the tag, but I don't. You've played your double. You've paid 3 credits. However, I still don't have the tag because of the no free lunch. So, yeah, possibly not super helpful in this situation. We also have, so we've got a Paladin Poimu coming down on the runner side as well, which will power the twinning. So there's now a real opportunity. Like, at any point, Rotom can decide to access a whole bunch of cards from R&D. So presumably can do that, if they think they're about to lose, and be like, right, go.
Yes.
See all the cards, oh dear, take the call. Yeah. However, Rotom doesn't have to do that right now. Rotom's, perfectly happy to, to continue to try and control this game. I think that's the sense that I get. What do you think the corpse has out here? What do you think they are?
I am definitely the kind of player who would make a mistake at a pivotal moment that would turn this strong position into a defeat.
Sure.
I've not been tracking. I believe our core damage only 2?
Core damage is currently 2 at the moment. Yes.
Okay. Yep. So that's a pretty solid position. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I think RotomAppliance has played approximately 1 million games of Crim, so
yes,
I think he's played this game before, even if he hasn't.
It is sometimes the thing where you find yourself playing against him, going, well, maybe make a mistake, which does feel very rude to him. But maybe I'm sure he will be the first to say he sometimes makes mistakes. I don't believe him, but so now we have run on R&D, and I believe we've used the Wake implant to at least see. Now we've seen 3 cards. And that is a steal of a false lead.
Oh dear.
That is the new art on the false lead and a Hermes bounce. So I believe Rotom has only lost a click rather than taking a core damage.
And notably, he's just spent his Sejva credits on the steal.
Yes, indeed. So spend the Sejva credits. So you well called there, and presumably that will also power the twinning if the twinning had not already been powered this turn.
Yeah.
So there's the fear realised of, well, now we can start just slowly climbing up to those 7 points. Seeing the false leads as well does sort of suggest that there was a lot potentially that could have gone even more wrong for the runner.
Yes.
A false lead with an oppo is always a worrying time. I suppose we do need to be careful of the oppo's ability to give 4 tags with
a threat level of
threat
3,
increasing. But I suppose we do have 2 things that I imagine Rotom will not sit there on the no free lunch or the flip switch and will not use them except in sort of these extreme situations. The situation on Corp's side seems very back foot to my mind, but that can happen. And I suppose visually you can see it as well. Like the runner side is full of cards and values and all those kind of things. The Corp is unfortunately, a lot of cards in the bin, not a lot of res, no ice out there, and you think, yeah. But certainly, I think all credit to Santa. This is a very, very interesting deck, and I am very pleased that it has been on stream.
Absolutely, yeah. It's forced some really interesting decisions.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to watch this game and sort of see, well, what has to happen here. To see a player situation, which I swear, I mean, I'm sure that they have quite correctly brought their deck and have not, in fact, accidentally brought an Eternal deck. But there are some cards that you think, oh, you're still here. What are you doing here? But some of them, we have deep love for them. That is a run, and that is a steal on a 3 on the
Hyperloop.
That is a Hyperloop on there as well. So again, presumably paying the credits and not taking the core damage. And I think that is, I think it's fair to put that down. I think we've gained some money from it just from the steal anyway. Perfectly happy to go. You know what? You were probably going to steal this at some point. I might as well put it down where I want the tempo. You've got to get yourself to a higher money ground.
And it's edging closer towards the threat level of 3. Here we go. So threat level is 3 now.
Threat level of 3 right now. And we've got more money. Now, is this the point where you ontological or dupes it? Oh, that's bounced by the Hermes, potentially, unless that was the Mr. Hendrick. And there is now a Jupstead undefended, which can be put back. Now, the question is, which one was that of the Thule's gruesome twosome?
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure I've seen ontologicals around. I mean, you only get the Jupstep for a turn, but it might be worth it. But there's definitely some thinking going on. I can't quite see whether a Mr. Hendrick or a Jupstep is in hand. We're getting an install on there. Decision being made of whether to hide it or not. And indeed, we are hiding it. Now, is this the icing it? No, we're getting a separate server. And then yet another separate server. So there is a lot on the board. A lot you could go and slight take back on that, which is fine. But we do have a second and third server. So I think it's just a little bit of rethinking. So what am I looking at? What are in those servers? Come on, see through
That's
the
right.
mask. Yeah.
That's right. Well, I think this is one of those turns that's going to be riot suppression into a big oppo.
Yeah.
So Mali Zorloka is a great resource.
Yeah.
Often play 1 out of faction if I can find room for it.
Beautiful,
just blank an opponent's non-virtual resource.
Yeah.
So, you install a Liberated, and I say, oh, my friend's got your foot, got her foot on your Liberated accounts.
Here's the question: is no free lunch virtual?
That's a good question. Pop quiz.
Very good question. Yeah. So answers on
I think it might be.
Yeah, I was. It's like a lot of the smaller ones are often virtual, but I but I don't know. It could be.
That's a good card to blank.
That would be it would be a hilarious card to blank. Blanking a 0 cost is always good. Oh, the game's over. Sorry. I think that, I think for a while the writing was sort of on the wall. I think we had a concession. The answer to my key question of is it a virtual resource?
All those playing at home will be pleased to hear that No Free Lunch is not a virtual resource.
Well, then the Malia could have blanked it, so I don't know if possibly it was that if you leave this Malia alone, then I've got a window and I can just do it. And you sort of reaching, doing the kind of the if he leaves everything alone, here's a great run. And you've got to go for those sometimes, and that is how you win games sometimes, by just going, well, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah, but you've got to play to your outs.
Yeah, but I think I think Santa, great deck, and I don't think there's any shame in losing to Rotom on 419. That is a position that one can very easily find oneself in.
I rarely do because I tend to be not at these tables.
Well, that is the best way of dodging Rotom. In fact, be not good enough to play them in the first place is a solid strat.
Yeah.
That was very much a win for Runner there.
So RotomAppliance won by a concession there.
Yeah.
Because Santa's thinking, okay, well, I want to maximize. My road to victory in that game is very narrow.
Yeah.
And need to maximize the chance of actually finishing the second game.
Absolutely, yeah. The last thing you want to do is lose for another 10 minutes and then have a sort of awkward draw on your running game. So we've got Hoshiko versus Precision Design now. One would assume typically Precision Design usually quite fast games. Yes. It's fair to say.
And if you're feeling short on time, running against PD can be rather stressful because they can really rush those first couple of agendas.
Yes.
And then a short timed win can.
I see, right? Yeah. So you only have 10 minutes. Precision Design rushes those first two, and then yes, you might theoretically have won in the long run, but you never catch up.
Yeah.
So Precision Design, and indeed, opening with. Install an R&D, install ICE, install in server 1, and get ready. Let's go. Because right there that could be a seamless 4-2, and there you are.
Exactly.
That right there is where we can get to. Now there's a run on HQ. I suppose it'd be interesting if we see a seamless. That's a Mavarus, so we're going to pop that in the bin. 0 to trash, just dealing with all that purging. Does that imply to you that this Precision Design has some fast advance, and that's why the Mavarus is there?
Yes, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's just anticipation of a strong conduit showing. Just a surprise conduit, I think is, surprise Mavarus disrupting a conduit is pretty tasty. Yeah. But I think the ability to play Big Deal or play Biotic for that last point or two.
So server 1 wasn't an agenda, which is the good news for the runner. The bad news was with Rashida. So that is money and draw. Possibly still the strongest asset in the game. Probably. I mean, we see it everywhere.
It's my favourite. Yes.
Yeah, you never feel bad if you've got a Rashida and it goes. It's kind of pop this and that is. So now we have an extra piece of ice on this remote. So we've got 2 ice remote and another thing going in there. It's like the Precision Design. Hey, we're going.
That's
vroom,
right.
Vroom. But Hoshiko's got an engine going as well. That's a lot of money. That's that's a short gamble play. That is, pay a credit to draw a card every turn. That is, there's a reason Hoshiko's played a lot, and that is, a very good engine in and of itself.
That's right. It's a free. It's draw.
It's draw. Draw is arguably one of the best things in the game. And there is some beautiful draw. We are moshing. We are getting rid of a moshing. 2 what cards were those going away whilst
strike funds.
Oh my goodness. So we have moshed away money to get money and money. So money.
Yes.
So runner now has money and some wonderful draw. I believe that's a more in hand as well, which might make the leaving HQ open more problematic. And, that 6 credits is fine, and a dirty laundry on HQ, that means that we are going to start getting rid of things like if you were holding onto a seamless to score, that might well go in the bin.
That's right.
Now, I always enjoy more accesses because it's, right, first of all, we need to see a card, we see a seamless, and then we need to randomize what goes in the bin, but it might be a seamless. We don't know, but
but if it is the seamless, we will know that it is the seamless.
Exactly. So the Moor has put something in the bin that was not a seamless.
Not that seamless.
Not that seamless. That's very true. It could have been another seamless. So, it's a great setup. Now, I suppose the thing is, if that is something in the remote you want to score with the seamless, do you score it or do you go right? Oh no, in fact you score it. So
oh boy, architect deployment test.
Architect deployment test. So that is looking at the top 5 cards and installing one of them. So maybe this is the way.
And rezzing them.
And rezzing, yeah. So this could be a way of defending HQ. You'd be like, right, one of these is going to be ice. Now the question is there any ice, or are we just going straight with? I suppose you could go. You know what? This is fine. If you've got another seamless in hand, you can. Oh no, we're defending the remote. Wow.
So that's a border control going onto the remote.
That is a border control. Is that border control? That looked like thimble rig to my mind. For some reason, I think that's thimble rig.
Okay,
I've played a lot of thimble rig in my time.
Yeah,
Apologies to viewers
it.
at home if I am wrong, but whether someone has slightly better eyes on it than I do. Viewers may not be aware, I wear very big glasses, so there could be various points in chat where they are going, no. Wonderful, a gatekeeper, and what's going in the bin? Something. Did you see what was returned to hand by the precision design?
I did not catch that. No.
I believe it was the seamless because we cannot currently see a seamless face up beyond that Rashida.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to put that as my guess there. So I mean, having nothing in the remote, you assume something is going to go in that remote soon.
Yes.
On the basis that we've put the ice there rather than putting any ice on HQ. Carmen coming down from the runner side. I suspect because there is a need to clear out some hand. It looked like quite a full hand. It's like there's been a successful run. You get the discount on Carmen, and it allows some other runs. So we've got an install and spin doctor on the corpse side. Presumably drawing for agendas. Are you drawing for anything else?
Riot suppression, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? If it was like, well, this is why I beat your deck. I too am on riot suppression of her research. I don't get the sense, especially as Rotom did have to read riot suppression. Although, again, could be an incredible bluff. I have had opponents read my cards before when they, in fact, had them in their own deck in order to put me off, which is, an incredible play, which I admire fully. So, taking a moment here on runner side, having a bit of a think. There's things in that remote, and the instant response is to go right. I'm just going to keep mooring and hope for the win, but your opponent knows that moor is there.
That's right. So
they're playing around it, so you can't just do your own thing. Presumably there's some anarch problems on the runner side of we see a thimble rig. We think. If I'm wrong, then I'm doubling down on my foolishness. We have now a bravado somewhere on
the remote.
On the remote, which does really suggest that is border control. Apologies to everyone, that is border control. They must have broken that. Then you've got the gatekeeper. So I was still right that not having a code gate breaker was a problem.
How often do you fire that subroutine on gatekeepers?
Oh, all the time.
Doesn't it feel so good?
Oh, it's just wonderful. But I think the only slight thing with it is that sometimes you don't want to shuffle things back, because if you are having a successful Resident Gatekeeper, it usually means that you've kept people out of your remote anyway. But I think in this case, I think we have just seen that Rotom is shuffling back an Iqua, I believe I saw. So clearly there is a sense of, you know what, I don't want to score an Iqua yet. Like, you know, that's the last one you score. Then we are continuing the problem of, right, I cannot get I cannot get my breaker. However, we are now going to see one of these. Some of them go in the bin. However, you will at least get to install one of them, as I card just played allows that. So we're going for the Gachapon, presumably just so that we can keep going and keep going. Right, we will get a Code Gate Breaker, and then we are unstoppable. And then a run on HQ just to make sure that we get the Maul trigger this turn. You never know. You don't just roll. Oh, we're rolling for the access first, and of course 6 in hand is correct. And there is a seamless. There's always a seamless, and we've knocked something else out of hand. So there is at least one seamless in Rotom's hand. So again, this could be, and with a Gatekeeper res, you presume, because you know, I mean, that it's something of significant value, because obviously Gatekeeper gets worse as you go along. That looks like we had a Rashida there, because I think we have there's now a second Rashida there in the remote. Now I think that's fair. You know, you're more than happy to use up your Gatekeeper on getting a Rashida, and presumably we've also got defensive upgrade that we want to keep for later. So it might well be, you know, defendable enough anyway.
And Hoshiko has stayed flipped, I think, just about the whole game. So, you know, we're turning money into cards.
Yeah. So we have an install, and that is, in fact, I believe that's a Tranquility Grid in the remote. So it's not defensive, but it is powering through the hey, you know, here is some money and or draw that can you know that can keep my game going. And we now have the ice on HQ. Clearly Rotom's decided, finally, it's time to ice HQ. So I'll run on the Spin Doctor now, presumably just, you know, doing the thing of going, right, I want your R&D a bit denser. All these agendas you've put in the bin. Let's make sure that these are good and ready to go. We have a Stargate coming down. And we are going to, presumably, we're working on the presumption that's not a code gate on R&D. We're still doing the shuffle, and there is a res. That is a drafter, so the carbon will break it, but it's going to be expensive. What is there?
4 credits.
4 credits, yeah.
That feels really bad.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you want to keep doing that too often. So this is the point where you might have wanted a Hippo, but unfortunately you don't have it. That's a choice. Do you stick the Spin Doctor in there, or do you? I think you're right to go with the Offworld Office, because you can go get it, right? And indeed, we assume that there is a run on archives in order to do the steal for the final click, because that's such a great agenda for Rotom to have, and if it goes into the hand, it's going into the remote that at the moment is inaccessible. We did see what was the face down.
It's a Managam Skunkworks.
Managam Skunkworks. So interesting that ended up there. In terms of face downs, one would have assumed that would end up in server 1. Maybe it was just the decision was made. You know what? Server 1 is defended enough. It has when at the time there was no barrier breaker installed, so we've got the border control. If they draw a barrier breaker, we've got the gatekeeper behind it. So I just want these other things which are fast, because precision design is very fast. Whilst we're going at this pace, what are the 2 game plans here? Do you think that it's swinging one way or the other?
Well, Patrick can sort of score at his leisure. He's got a healthy credit total, and really the Stargate is not a huge threat right now, because Santa's credits are, you know, lower than they might be, but flipping back will help. And yeah, really, it's that finding Finding the decoder.
So that is a double seamless to score an Iqua. Now my assumption is Rotom presumably just had no 4-2s to go there right there. And then it was like, this is, you know what, I have the scoring window, as you said, I will score something with it, even if it has to be. It's very expensive card. So is the win in the remote right now? Could that be a 3-2 or 4-2? Take the agenda points over?
It could be. Seamless advance. That's 3 clicks though, right?
That was yes. Yeah, no, you're quite right. So we now have. It could have been advanced and just off our screen is the only thing, because we do have the slight problem of not being able to see right down there at the moment. So we have a Gachapon Fire. Didn't get what I presume the main target is Code Breaker. Because that's the biggest problem, right? Because that remote theoretically is not actually that expensive at the moment. That third ice could be something very expensive, but at least then you force the res on it. But at the moment, there is a 0 strength ice keeping you out. So it is. Can I find this breaker? There is a Unity, so it's drawn. But the question is it too late? Is there? So I think the look is: do I pop this fermenter for 2 credits? Install Unity and run, because I think we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the MU, but do we have the money? Because Stargate's 2, Commons 1, Cleaver's 1, Fermenter's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so we do have, we've got just about enough money to go and deal with this, and then we've got to run. So do we have a final click for the run? And we are running on HQ. Presumably that is on the hopes of a Gatekeeper on HQ. That is expensive. I don't think they've got the money to break that with Unity. So I think. No, it looks like they did have the money. I think they must have had some slide of screen, seeing, possibly hoping that a seamless was needed to score out that remote. And it can be, this is a future problem.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, of course, the mana gun previously in Archives would have been moored, so that's probably wasn't a decision made.
Yeah.
Apologies. A lot going on in these games, certainly. So we now have the entire Breaker Suite and a Stargate, 2 credits. I think it depends on how much you can produce money from the deck suddenly.
That's right.
Are there overclocks here? Are you does Hoshiko's on overclocks that much? I don't know if they've got that many of them. And that only gets you one access. Obviously, there was a glorious moshing for strike funds. Presumably, that can't be done again.
No.
It's just everything has been quite expensive to deal with from the runner side of the board, but not so expensive from the corp side of the board.
PD is so resilient with the hands, larger hand size, with recurring a card on scoring an agenda.
Absolutely. So what's your thinking here as a runner? You sort of going, right, I'm very, very poor, and I'm only sitting on 2 agenda points. So the thinking here is they're running on the remote. So on the basis of presumably that if that bottom piece of ice is not particularly threatening, could have been another bluff, could have been nothing particularly great. Then we've got it looks like, is that only 1 on the Gatekeeper? Because I think the Gatekeeper subroutine is being offered. Offered to Rotom right now. I'm not sure he's actually taken it. And indeed, another Gatekeeper. There are a lot of Gatekeepers hanging around. This is wall-to-wall gates, no fence at all. And that asks a lot of Unity to break each time.
I'd rather have Unity than some other decoders,
Very
but
true,
nevertheless, that's a 6 strength in the run that that Rotom paid 3 for. So
Absolutely, yeah. So that I think is going to be sufficient to keep out, and I think there's just the look of, can I do anything with this last click that is worth doing?
yeah,
So it looks like we're going for R&D, presumably on the twin threat. Of maybe I'll steal something off the top of R&D, and maybe I can, maybe the Maw trigger will keep me in the game, just long enough. I think it's, I think it's one of those things where you're going, right, there may not be a wide path to victory, but it is still a path to victory. Better than just clicking for a credit and going, oh, maybe it's not there, and just sort of hiding from a reality of a very strong core position. Now I think the drafter has brought the Managarm back, is the only problem there, onto R&D, just that added little bit of value, but not in enough time, I believe, to res or to stop this access, but it could stop a future access. And then here's the more firing. So there is at least a hit on HQ. Is it going to do anything? That was fair enough. Not technically supposed to be seen, but I think we're that was enough.
it was understood.
From not seeing the seamless, it was enough. So it may well be that they had a little table agreement between them saying, hey, if I see a seamless, well, fair enough. But if not, then the game ends. So that is a court victory there. And then, don't steal the agenda for your future games. Very well played from both sides, I thought. I think
fantastic. High level play. I mean, there's a lot of, the PD deck in particular, has been very strong since it's released, and it's been really interesting to watch it go through its different evolutions, and different players bring different styles to it. Some people really enjoy border control, other people stay off it, and it's two very very high two very high quality games there.
Yes, absolutely. I think and I think we got to see decks that certainly. I wouldn't be surprised to see certainly some of these decks tomorrow. Potentially competing quite hard, and they attack the other side from slightly different positions to some of the more some of the other decks that we saw. Obviously, we saw Eternal decks earlier, but I think we might see some wide later on in Standard and tomorrow.
I think it's reasonable to expect that.
I think so, and so something like Precision Design that just goes, hey, I've got one remote. Enjoy that, Miss Bones.
That's right. You have 28 actions to win this game. If not, I'm going to do it in
that's it.
21 or whatever.
You've got 21 actions, and by that point I will have won. Is a really good way of teaching the concept of precision design.
Something else that's a bit unusual that I might draw attention to for those who've been watching Netrunner tournaments for many years is this is actually natural light that we have in the venue here at Casarias in Barcelona.
True, yes, we are in a very nicely lit space, which has not required a great deal of spotlights, and it almost feels too nice a building to play in. There's a little bit of that airy feeling to it. I think it's quite warm out there as well with the still a very warm October here. But that's a very good spot. That is indeed natural light, allowing us to see these two playmats, one of which is more unusual than the other. Obviously, the beautiful World Tree and question mark. I will,
Is it George Clooney? Or is it just a stock image?
I believe that is a stock image. I'm afraid I didn't get time to find out the full nature of the whys and wherefores. But should we take a short break there? And we will come back for round 4 once round 4 is available.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.